So we will jump right in here to the questions. Like I said, we're talking how to feature a star quarterback in the spread offense. Once again, we're just continuing our season 14, which is all about picking apart these individual players. And some of us have stars there and some don't. But when you do, and you've spent years without one, maybe you don't know how to utilize that star. So that's what we're looking at this whole season. And tonight it just happens to be the spread offense, which I'm not any good at. So I'm really going to lean on you to make the show, like always. And we're talking a star quarterback. Sounds kind of self-explanatory to me in the beginning, but I know that there's so many levels to it that we'll be able to jump into. So first and foremost, what does a star quarterback look like in the spread system?
Spread is a philosophy, not a system.
Ooh.
Which the whole concept of spread is getting, I mean, really simple, getting players in space, getting athletes in space with the football. And it's the 53 and a third or whatever, and using the entire field. Um so a spread quarterback is somebody who has the capability to help your offense use that entire width of the field. And even better if he can stretch it vertically down the field. Now, he may do that with his arm. He may do that with his legs. He may do that with both. So when we're talking about a lot of spread option quarterbacks, they tend to spread the field with their legs. Zone read, power read. They're able to stretch the field with, quarterback sweeps. Maybe they're able to stretch the field with sprint outs. They are able to stretch the field with their legs, and then to an extent their arm. The more prototypical passing quarterback, the air raid type system, spreads the field, or even run and shoot, spreads the field with his arm. Air raid does not require him to have a great arm either. A lot of shorter passing, but he is able to throw. I mean, you think about it, we're talking about spreading the field. If you can throw bubble screens, hitches, if you can throw little stick routes, if you can throw, we're not talking about, throw your screen, throw running back screens. We're not talking about throwing it down the field. But then when you get the kid who can stand back there in a 6'5" laser rocket arm, that now he can hit all 9 zones of the field. He can hit, and really it's more than 9. Let's just, for sake of argument, he can hit all 10 zones of the field. He can hit all 6 underneath zones. He can hit all 4 deep zones.
Ah,
Um,
touche. I was about to say, like, wait a minute.
all
And note
9 to
my
me,
my 10
is
key,
the hit chart type of thing where
yeah,
it's
where'd the
short,
ball go?
short to the right, short to the middle, short to the left, intermediate right, intermediate middle, intermediate left, deep right, deep middle, deep left. That's 9. But then the actual passing zones are, you have 2 underneath hook zones, you have 2 underneath curl zones, you have 2 underneath flat zones, you have 4 deep vertical zones, over 17 yards, over 14 yards, let's say. And so there you're not talking about the intermediate throwing so much. To whereas I think you can be a very good quarterback without being great at throwing down the field. I think what it comes down to when we're talking about all of this, whether it is spread option or it is spread passing, the star quarterback is, we have very good quarterbacks who are good athletes. And they're such good athletes that they often throw it when they shouldn't throw it, but it works out. They keep it when they shouldn't keep it, but it works out. Uh, that's not a star necessarily, because eventually that will run out, because eventually you run into some team that has athletes that match him. You win the games against other teams because they don't match up with that athlete. But in order to be the star, I think that whether it is arm strength or leg, running, doing with your feet or doing with your arm, one way or the other. But ultimately, what makes you a star is a kid who is willing to put the work in to be a great decision maker. And that requires a certain level. First of all, it requires a level of commitment in the off season. It requires a commitment to watching film, to studying, to getting better. It also requires some poise and maturity because you're making those decisions under fire. You're making those decisions with all eyes on you. So there's a level of maturity, poise, um, maybe a little bit of like a swagger that you need to be the star quarterback. It's you have to be cool with being in the spotlight and being, even at the high school level, being dissected a little bit for everything that you do.
Yep. Um,
And I don't know their
yes,
specific physical traits. I mean, obviously, if you want to be a passing quarterback, you need to be tall enough to see over the line. If you want to
I
be,
have seen a little bit of conversation lately. Matter of fact, there was a question on the chalkboard forum
yeah,
the other day about being too short to see over the line. But
yeah, you
Drew
change the lawn
Brees did
sports. Yeah.
it for 17, 20 years, whatever he did it,
So
and
what? So what you learn to do with those quarterbacks is create passing lanes.
right.
So if I split the protection and the 5'8" running back goes in there to block the linebacker, we're all good. You know, we can all see. He's got to be able to find those lanes.
What you said about being committed to put in that work, I think not even is that only to be a decision maker, a great decision maker, but just learning the game. Um, we have a great quarterback on our freshman team right now. He's going to be fantastic. Physically, he looks the part. The cat can throw it wherever. Where he has to develop so that he can become great is going to be making reads. How does his progressions? That's on us as coaches as well to teach him how to do that. What coverage do I expect them to be in? Have we got something built in like the pistol power offense where we have we're confirming what we think is happening over here by reading a safety over here, right? So I think that's a big part is putting that work in, committing to football. Not that you can't be multi-sport. Please don't ever think I think that.
No, 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 no,
I want
no.
kids to
It
play three
probably should
sports
be
a year.
multi-sport.
You
Yeah.
should be fall, you should be winter, you should be spring, and probably play some kind of summer ball. Maybe take a break before football season starts somewhere
Depends on how
good
much
and
7
fresh.
on 7 you have. There may not be room for it, you know.
Yeah. But making that commitment to learning, guys, you make a lot of money being good at quarterback. So it's worth it. Baseball does too. Not saying you shouldn't go baseball either, but that kid will put in the time and just learn all the aspects of the game. Because what do we expect of a quarterback? They got to know every lineman's job. They got to know every running back steps so that they can get the timing right. They got to know every route by every receiver. So we're telling them basically to be an offensive coordinator. They need to be, in fact, we want them to come off and tell us what they're seeing, maybe even what play ought to hit, right? I remember Stillwell last year. That's what we did. The quarterback come off was like, never mind, guys, I got this. And he goes out and goes for 35. Like, that's a key aspect as well.
My quarterback at Amelia, who was a region offensive player of the year, at times would give me that, coach, I got this. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was his third year as a starter, his senior year. And he understood football because he put the work in and he did run track. And then he came in and we had about a 30-minute workout twice a week for our track guys to do, knocking out 20, 25, 30 minutes, JDFP weight room. And then he would knock that workout out, and either during that workout or after that workout, we would be drawing up coverages. Hey, this is cover. Let me draw up here. Here's cover 3. What attacks cover 3? We could run deep out, and there's in March that was a struggle. In March of his junior year, that was a struggle. What can we run against this? Hitch. I'm like, hitch can't always be the answer. I'm like, but yes. And like eventually it's like, okay, we can run 4 verts, we can run curl, we can run deep out. And he understands what attacks, what coverages, within our offensive system. He doesn't need to be an offensive genius. He learned, and those, by the way, are 20, 15, 20, 30-minute sessions of just going over it and over it and over it. And the more complex your system is, the longer it's going to take for him to learn. But our quarterback, who we only got to work with, a quarterback our first year at this school, I only got to work with him for 4 months. I think I got there in June. We got hired, and my head coach got hired in May, I think. It was COVID year, so we were also like not allowed to be there half the time. It was 2021. Weight room got shut down, weight room got open, shut down again. So he didn't have a lot of and there wasn't really an off season for him. And he hadn't been the quarterback before. So this is all the smart kid learned it on the fly. Wasn't a great quarterback, but had some tools and learned the game very quick. I would say by week 6 or 7. The problem was it took till week 6 or 7, and we won 3 of our last 4. But it by the end of that time, he understood football, and what that means is he understood why we were motioning here and what that would open up. He understood why we were attacking the coverage with this call and where the likely. I always talk, and I get guys tell me I'm wrong. I think, we talk about being a great decision maker, and you should mention this as well. These things are on a sliding scale. The more you understand, the more you can make the decision ahead of time.
Yeah.
So to whereas we may talk about, this guy dropping back and going through a 5, almost nobody goes through a 5 receiver progression or anything like that.
Nah, you don't got time.
No.
It's just.
And so what it is you figure out, I'm going to read this half of the, so like our route concepts have 5 receivers out, but pre-snap, and then it's confirmed by a trigger read. So like, let's say that we're running curl. We're going to have a hook, a curl, and we're going to have a curl route on the outside. We're going to have a shoot route by number 2. And we're going to have a hook route over top of where the Mike linebacker is by the running back number 3. Backside has a shoot route and a curl route. I look at that and I say, all right, I got three guys over here. I look at the coverage. Coverage confirms it's a balanced coverage, so I want to go to the 3-man side. I now read the backside linebacker because it's an intermediate, it's an underneath concept. If it's a deeper concept, I read the free safety or the backside safety, so like 4 verts. But I take the snap and my eyes are on that guy for my first, step. Basically, my eyes are on that guy to confirm that's what's happening. If he were to rotate over like a zone blitz and they blitz the Mike backer, now I go, all right, check. I'm going to go to the 2-man side because now I have the numbers over there. There's only one curl player left because it's still cover 3, let's say. So now I go back and I throw it over there. But 90% of the time, that's just confirmed by the wheel backer staying where he's at. And I just go, and then I go through my route progression, which then I can also look and go, all right, the strong safety is screwed all the way down. I'm just going to, he's a 2x2. I'm going to throw the shoot route. Like the shoot route's going to be there. And if it's not, it's because the strong safety is running with it man coverage. And then that curl route's going to be wide open. So I don't have to go hook, curl, flat. I'll check to confirm that the Mike linebacker is not flying out. We only play one team in 4 years. 5, no, that was the last 7 years. I've only played one team where the Mike linebacker flew out to where we could really throw the hook. And we could also run the draw on that too. But most of the time, the post snap read is just confirming. I know, for example, a hitch. Like this is a really simple. I don't have to be a great decision maker. I'll look out there and the corner's 8 yards off. Throw in the hitch. Nothing is changing that. Nothing is changing that. I'm going to catch and throw the hitch. Am I a great decision maker? Yeah, but that decision was made pre-snap without pressure. So we talk about all the poise and pressure. You can make that a lot easier. So the sliding scale is great decision maker who understands the offense. Doesn't even have to understand the game, has to understand the offense and how it attacks defenses. And the more I understand the offense and how it attacks defenses and what defenses are doing, the less I have to be that great under pressure decision maker. And the more I can be the guy who's standing there looking over the secondary and going, all right, I'm throwing to that guy unless something changes.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk difference of this quarterback versus other schemes or philosophies. Thanks for correcting me. Spread is not a scheme. So what makes this?
Well, I mean, it splits into spread run, spread pass, and really spread
absolutely.
option, spread air raid. Yeah.
What makes the spread quarterback different from other schemes?
There's a level of decision making that outweighs toughness, and I think that in some of our other schemes, we want a tough kid. Split back veer. We want a tough kid in there. Decision maker still, but he can be 5'6". He doesn't have to be that fast, although it's nice. And we wanted to be tough. And maybe even some of your read option stuff, you need that. But like, again, I think that the decision making, the spread aspect of it, like he's going to be out in space, the athleticism, you don't normally look for the athleticism, especially in the spread option, that you would in a wing T quarterback. A wing T quarterback, leadership, toughness, traditional wing T. He's a leader. He's tough. Yeah, he has understanding the offense, depending on how much freedom you give him. But, um, you know, selflessness in those offenses because you're not getting the ball. But he can be a little selfish. he's the star in this offense. He's truly the star.
I think it comes down to football IQ and understanding of the game, and it's like you said, as a veer, flex bone, a wing T, what we're doing with the gun T now. Everybody's running Kenny stuff at this point. It seems like.
Well, even the pistol
These
power offense, like he doesn't have to be. Now, our pistol power offense is spread
can be
at
spread,
times,
right?
or it can be spread, and he easily adapts to spread. He also easily adapts to power eye and single wing.
Right.
Single wing's one where he doesn't need to do anything but run. Right. Double wing, he doesn't need double wing. He's blocking the corner. Like, those are wildly different aspects of things. But even when you look at our pistol power offense, which is very balanced, I've been talking about our quarterbacks, but especially in years past, we were very balanced. And there was a level of unselfishness. 50% of the time, you're just going to hand it to the kid.
Right.
And carry out your fake. So critical for us is carrying out your fake. We are terrible at traditionally.
Even when you tell them, even when you threaten them with up downs, they don't carry out the fake.
I don't
But
ever threaten. I quit threatening with up downs after we had like 3 separated shoulders in a season.
there you go. What I was trying to say is like they need to have an understanding of like that read, right? They need to have understanding of if I get blown up, which offensive lineman am I going to be chewing out in the huddle? Like, hey man, you got to do your job, right? Sure, you got some RPOs, you do some things to answer some questions, but it's like I'm reading a dude somewhere and I'm making a decision. To where I feel like a spread quarterback, you do get that at least 3 route progression, right? It's not, hey, I'm reading the corner and I'm throwing one of 2 routes. It's, I've got to know where's my safety relief valve. Who's my primary route here? Who's over the ball right now? Who's my secondary? Like it's all these. I just feel like they have to have a better understanding of the game. Also, you start talking about taking a sack, right? When to throw the ball away, when to give it up and live to fight another day, and not. I mean, sometimes you got to eat the ball, you got to take a sack, but that's a decision maker. You said it earlier, but I feel like here it's even more important because I guess if you're the spread option, sure, you kind of get back into that. We just want to run the daggum ball. But when we talk about spread and you're really looking to air raid it, I mean, anything could hit for 50, but also it seems like any of those could be a sack for 15 or, negative 15. So making decisions behind the line of scrimmage also, to me, seems like a really, that's what makes a star to me. That's what makes them different because we're generally not running them all around and attacking. You know what I mean? I guess those safety valves may not be open because there's no threat for you to run in the air raid or whatever. They're just going to pin their ear back and come on.
Yeah, and you have to be able to. One of the things in the spread is you must be able to throw the ball a little bit, hitch, a bubble, something, because otherwise you get a 7-man box, and you get cover 0 on the outside, and they say screw you. You're,
Can you pull it off or not?
Beat us with the pass, and you can't do it if you can't throw, and which also clearly defines what you want to do, but. So they do have to be able to do multiple things, and a lot of times you can do that. You can create that with sprint outs and play actions, and all sorts of different ways to do it. Very, very few teams are going to be spread and they're going to be 90% run,
Right.
unlike a WingT, which is, pretty common 90% run, double wing, common 90% run, split back veer, uh, even flex bone at times is run heavy, not as heavy because it's a little bit more of a spread out formation. Um, Pistol power offense, again, we like to be balanced, but we can be heavy run.
Take what they give you, right?
It's a little bit more, we run the ball if we can, and then we throw the ball when we need to. I think it's really important to talk about balance real quick. I think we've talked about it before. Balance is not 50-50. Balance is the threat of run or pass on any given down. If you put 9 guys in the box, I'm going to throw it. So it's taking what you give you. But if you put nine guys in the box and I can still get 5 yards, I'll take it. I'll just keep handing it off. I mean, obviously, I'll take a shot. I won't keep doing that all day, but I'll throw a little bit, try to get you out of there. But I'm not gonna panic about it. We had a team double cover both of our receivers through one of the most beautiful 85-yard post routes you've ever seen in your life. Like, I don't care, throw it. 4-man box. I just wanted the drive to be over. Race to 35.
Reminds me of a 8 or 9 man football around here.
8 or 9 man football on the 100-yard field.
Yeah, where it's the game's over at halftime if you're up by whatever it is, 35 or whatever. So it's a race to get there.
8 man on a 50 on a full width field. Not enough dudes to cover in the passing game. You almost have to go cover 0, like, because you can't run zones. There's too many zones. Like if you do 8 man, you can rush 3, and then you can play a 3 under 2 deep. There's a lot, and they still have 5 eligible receivers. Like, I get guys talking to 8 man, and I'm like, what size field do you play on? It's almost always mostly regulation, some 80 by 40 or whatever, but mostly regulation. And it's like, well, you can run zone on the 80 by 40s. There's a lot of grass out there with your 3 under 2 deep coverage.
Yeah.
Or your 3 deep, 3 under, and you're rushing 2. That kid's sitting back there forever waiting to attack your fire zone. Tell you why 3 under, 3 deep works, because I got a 5-man rush coming off the single edge.
Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it is the right answer. All right, last part here. How can we call plays that allows that quarterback to shine? So this is where I'm really not a spread guy. So if I just got a dude, and I guess you have to take this in 2 parts. One is a guy that can wing it around, and is that prototypical Aaron Rodgers type. God be with Aaron Rodgers and his Achilles. And then
Unbelievable.
And then the other type is the cat that can run around and make things happen with his legs. So how are we calling plays to let that guy shine one way or the other?
I think part of it is you identify these kids early. If you get the opportunity to do this, like you're a freshman, you identify that kid early and what he can do. And hopefully you're in a system, guys, where you have the ability to do multiple things. Most air raid teams can run a zone read and could easily adapt to a power read and those sorts of things. Most spread option teams can easily tack on our passing concepts. Which is what we do. We just do a little, that's what we use. We use our passing concepts from a spread formation. And we use our run plays, run blocking, but then we take a tight end out and read the guy that he was supposed to block, or take the H-back out and split him out and read the guy he was supposed to block. It's a very simple progression, but hopefully you get these kids early and you can put them through a progression. You don't go out there and give him 9 reads from day one. You go out there and you run a basic, let's say it's spread option guy. You run a very basic zone read where his, and how much detail you need to give him on the read is up to you. But starting out, he's reading zone read and he's just looking at, okay, does he come down to tackle the dive, or does he squat for me? I give or I keep. And you start developing that decision-making process, because the decision-making process, again, under fire is not easy. And the problem with the zone read we talked about with the passing is you can make a lot of those decisions pre-snap. You can do that to an extent, with the zone read stuff or with any sort of read plays. To an extent, I can do that, and I can base it on my knowledge of what he did before, but it's not 100%. And there's certain things I can look for, like I got two off an edge, and it's an automatic give. The linebackers walked up in the gap blitzing. I'm going to throw that RPO behind him. So there's certain things that I can make a decision pre-snap. They make it very easy for me. The more a team can sit in a base look and then create different looks post-snap, the harder it gets. But you give him the ability to learn to make those decisions over time, where he's only got one read, and then it's an easy read. Power read is a harder read, although usually the read just goes straight ahead because high school kids then just all fly out to that.
Yeah, they do.
Read.
Yeah, they do.
And so, it's not a hard read because he can look at it and see they did it every time. You give him passing concepts that are simple, and you say, if this, then this. You don't go straight to all four R's and, all that kind of stuff. I'm not an R4 guy. I understand the concepts, but I'm not a fan of the system. It just, quite honestly, we tried it. It didn't work for us. It's not a bashing on R4. It's just,
nope.
I think Doug Maddox was a freaking genius, and had him on the podcast and loved him. And it didn't work for us. Just a situation. Our system now works fantastic for us. The key, though, is that you develop around that kid's skills, and you develop those skills over time. So, I'm not static. I don't go, well, this kid's fast and he doesn't read well, so we're just going to run quarterback ISO because we can't read anything. We're just going to have him run the ball. Quarterbacks, and how many teams do you see? They're not the great teams. How many teams do you see where their run game is quarterback sweep, quarterback ISO? No reads, no developed passing game. They just got the fastest kid back there running quarterback sweep, quarterback ISO.
Yep.
There's no development happening there. And you're not going to get past a certain level because those plays have no development. Now, you could be developing the blocking scheme, but chances are, if that's what you've settled in on, you're not. Now, if you were dialing in how to block ISO and how to block sweep and how to run a counter off of it, you could develop that offense, but you wouldn't be developing that quarterback. So it's a different podcast. But if you give him a simple read, and then from that, we had James Vint on several times on the podcast, and Coach Vint, one of the first podcasts he did with us was about reading everybody back in 2012 or something like that. Once the kid can read one kid, he understands the concept of reads, and then you can expand it. And then you can start to get into, okay, read, dive to bubble, right? Keep, give. I decide to keep, and now I go to the second read. I read the N for the dive read, and I read the strong safety to throw the bubble off of that. Like, we're at a very high level now when we're doing that. That's hard. But you can get to that. Throwing RPOs further down the field that take a little longer to develop, and getting those reads, and just throwing RPOs in general is a little bit tougher. You have to develop these kids into it. It's rare that you get a kid who, like I said, we came into a program and had a kid who was a smart kid, good athlete. We had no time to get him ready to play quarterback, and the reads had to happen slowly over time. And honestly, our best plays were the ones that looked like reads, but we just predetermined keep. I mean, that was, did we read it some? Yeah. Did he make some good decisions? Yeah. Did he make some bad decisions? Yeah. The best ones where we just said, go ahead, and I see what this kid's doing, kick him out and run inside of it. And we'll fake the give, kick him out, run inside. And so you can set him up that way. But yeah, give him time to develop and give him simple things. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes, is that we dive into these systems that just go straight to 5 routes go through this progression. And it's cool, but your kids aren't going to develop doing it.
Yeah. So play calls in the spread, like spread to throw. Okay, so we're talking true air raid, less reads under pressure. I would assume. I mean, I guess there's still pressure. You can always max protect, right?
Air raid involves a lot of you can, but I mean, air raid is pretty much
you need those 5 guys
on getting 5 out in the route, and you're running flare and you're reading off of there's a read for 5-man protection. We have a 7-man protection with 2 check releases, so we get 5 out whenever we can. What our quarterback has to learn to do that's different than spread, our quarterback has to learn to check protections so that he gets as many. Now, very few of them get to this level. This is getting a high school kid to understand protections and check protections takes some work. And not often do we get a kid who's there. Which means we check protections. Works fine. But ideally it's the quarterback doing it. Our quarterback has to check protections so that we get, or we have to call protections so that we get at least 4, if not 5 out in routes. Because we have to know where's the roll down safety, where's the 1 tech, where's the those are the things that kind of things we have to look for so that we can get the check release set up so that the H-back gets to release. If you're bringing 3 off of an edge, we want to flip the protection because the H-back will get the free release to the other side and we'll throw over there. We don't want him stuck in, not being able to release. We flip the protection. Sorry, the H-back doesn't flip. The protection flips. Now the H-back is the free release.
Right.
We don't mind that. We don't mind the R being stuck in because usually he's supposed to be blocking the guy that's blitzing. So it's like it's just a pass off. Like, all right, we're fine. Neither one of them's in protection, so it's fine. So there's some things like that we have to do. Not even. I mean, so many of the and I think it's the same in air raid. And I'm not an air raid guy. I know the route concepts, but I'm not like a.
You don't have your certificate.
No, and I've done a lot of like teaching against the air raid. I've studied the routes. They're just not for me. We use a lot of similar concepts, but just overall, it's just not for me.
The bookshelf.
Huh?
The bookshelf needs an air raid. You've got WingT. You got to have the opposite, right? It's a requirement.
Most of my air raid stuff, the air raid guys don't write books. They're a little more sophisticated, so they have videos and things like that.
Substacks. They have substacks. Books online.
I don't know what I've got on air raid.
What Joe does have is like 28 medals over there. Look at those things.
Yeah. No, I don't have. Air raid's never fat. I mean, I learned it, and I love Chris Hatcher. I love specifically, and I like Mike Leach. I like Mike Leach, and Hal Mummy and all of that. I enjoy studying those things, but the run game and blocking and everything. WingT is always fascinated me way more. Double wing. From just a what's fun perspective, it's studying WingT blocking. That's what some people consider fun. Other people don't. Other people like a lot of people like route concepts. A lot of people want to be the quarterback guru, and that's never interested me.
I would love to be able to develop one, but I don't need to be a guru. Look,
yeah, no,
linebackers is where it's at. Let's quit pretending.
I've had good quarterbacks, and but here's a coach, a very wise coach, told me once. We were like, how do you have such good quarterbacks? He goes, Coach, a great running quarterbacks who could throw. Coach, when they're freshmen, we give them all a football and see which one can throw. And then we develop as a quarterback for the next 4 years.
Start them early.
But you don't start with a kid who wants to be a quarterback or a kid who's a good decision maker. You start with a kid who can sling it. And then you build from there. And you let their dads send them to all the camps to develop their arm strength. You just find the one that can throw.
That's right.
One year, my first year of coaching, we had a quarterback who's okay. He was okay. And we were not very good. So I guess maybe he wasn't that good, but he was okay. And we couldn't throw down the field very well. And the JV team is warming up one day, and we had a field house that could see over the field and everything. This is my second year coaching. I apologize. And one of the JV linemen, like a ball, it's that 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 moment. The ball kind of lands at his feet. One of the other guys say, "Hey kid, throw the ball," and he slings it 60 yards. He's a guard on the JV.
And now you're quarterback. Congratulations.
Somebody go get that kid real quick and get him out of pads. He's not playing JV. We got to teach him some routes. Like, find the kid that can throw first. If you have with very little exception, you should not have a quarterback. And I know we talked about route concepts and whatever, but let's just back up. With very little exception, should you have a kid playing quarterback where there is anyone else on the team who is significantly better at throwing the ball than him? Let's just start there. Like, you don't look at a kid who looks like Jarrett Lorenzen and can throw like Jarrett Lorenzen could and leave him at guard because he's fat. I don't care. If your other guys can't throw, adjust to the offense.
Is that the hefty lefty? Is that who you're talking about?
Yes. Speaking of Kentucky football, RIP.
You can go back to season 11, episode 10 of the Football Coaching Podcast. Build your offensive scheme around your quarterback. Fair warning, I was very new back then and I'm terrible. But it was a good episode about build around what you have.
Yep.
And if you got a dude that can sling it, stop running zone read and let him throw the ball.
Well, yeah, like, at least don't have him at guard.
That'll work. That's a good start. Let him catch snaps.
There's so many coaches, though, who will just look at kids. Physical traits matter very little at the high school level. It's like, I don't have guys to play that position. I can tell you right now, the toughest out of our first 3 games, the toughest 2 defensive linemen. Now, granted, we've only played 2, but I can see film. The toughest 2 defensive linemen, one of them is about 270 and one of them is about 145. The 145 kid, a lot of coaches would be like, he's a free safety. I don't know, but he's their best defensive lineman. Somebody who wasn't paying attention would have left that kid at guard and not moved him to quarterback when he slung the ball 60 yards. Our quarterback from 2 years ago, college tight end. Not a quarterback. But, that's what you got. Now, the kid we have now is a quarterback. He should be a quarterback, although plenty of people tried to make him a receiver. Because he fits that mold more.
Right.
But he can sling it. So, route concepts. You try to distribute the ball. I think the more when you talk about being a decision maker, you try to make matchups for your quarterback, and he needs to understand those matchups. And you try to distribute the ball, you set it up with formations, with motions, with matchups, with adjustments that make it so that his decisions are easy. Hey, we just put the 6'5" receiver over top of the 5'6" corner with motion. Throw the ball to him on whatever. I don't think the scheme wise you have to. The option schemes, what does he run best? Some kids are better at edge runners and some kids are better inside runners. Make sure you figured that out. Same thing. Some kids are better deep ball throwers. Some kids can distribute the ball like hell underneath, hitting every zone in the underneath and intermediate throws, and they don't throw fade balls well. So when you tell them to throw a fade ball, you tell them to throw the ball, you teach them spin factors, and you tell them to throw the ball so high and so deep that it lands out of bounds. And that way they won't play up pressed on us. And that, don't have a kid who doesn't throw a good fade ball, throw fade balls all day. Sure, don't have him throw the fade ball late. That's the biggest mistake that's happening. Fade balls and seam balls being thrown 60 yards down the field. That's a 22-yard throw. Release the freaking football. Catch and throw. It's a 3-step. Say with a hitch, teach them quick release, all that sort of stuff. But there's no real magic to it. Find out what they do really well and then do it. Don't be in a system where you can't adjust. And one of the things I like about our system is that the offensive linemen are the ones who have to adjust, and they're usually willing to do that. And then we kind of build around that. And so 1 year we're a good inside zone team, 1 year we're a good outside zone team. And it's not because I'm teaching it any different. It could be somewhat the kids, but a lot, the offensive linemen, a lot of times the running back. The running back likes to run inside. The running back's a better toss runner. The quarterback's a better zone read kid. The quarterback's a better power read kid. The quarterback's a better, speed option kid. We've never been a speed option team before. We've speed options been one of our best plays lately. Figure out what they can do it.
Awesome. I think we've checked all the boxes tonight. We discussed all the things. We answered the questions. So we'll pay the bills and start getting out of here. Join.joedanielfootball.com. Get access for $1. Get you 7 days of access to all the things. Everything Joe talked about tonight. So that's the pistol power offense. That's his, what did you call it? Reading the backside linebacker or safety for confirmation of the
trigger reads.
Trigger reads. There you go. Get the pistol power offense. You get trigger reads. You can go watch the video. You can watch all of the videos. It's really crazy. You can get the entire offense, the entire defense, whatever one you want. Defensive, we get the 4-3, 4-2-5, 3-3 stack, and a 3-4, which is one I have got to enjoy this year because I'm a 4-2-5 guy having to run a 3-4. It's a lot of fun. I still like my 4-2-5. Those are all one system. So if you need to be multiple front, our team is multiple front this year on the varsity level, and it's amazing. I love watching them work together. But we have those systems for you. I guess I was going to yawn. Who knew? The full pistol power offense system, chalkboard forum. We discussed it earlier today, right? There's some questions on there that are really, really good. There's some questions we get a whole bunch of times. But the thing is, it doesn't matter. Even if we've seen it 100 times, you can still go on there and ask it. There is a search function online, not on the app, but online. Get on and search. You can look at years of people asking questions about your scheme, about your solution or your problem to look for a solution. My running back's too slow. My quarterback can't throw. My right tackle keeps, I don't know, he can't hinge block. Whatever the problem is.
Can't throw. Flip the ball to all of your linemen and just check. Just check.
Let the guards throw it down. Hey, you kid.
Just have a day where you're like, hey, everybody just want to throw the ball around just out of curiosity.
Hit this trash can at 65. You got this. Chalk Talks are weekly now that we're in season. When we get to the off season, which will be in another 6 to 8 weeks.
November.
Yeah. We'll go back to being bi-weekly. But right now they're weekly. Joe has put on some great ones. They're all amazing. Come in and ask your questions. That's a great time to go, hey, it's Monday night. I know what I'm facing. I know what my game plan is. Can you help me shore up this play, this formation, this, maybe it's a full offense. Maybe I don't know how to defend the WingT and I can't find the video, even though it's on there. And then you come in and ask and we discuss it. All those things. Go platinum, get your game film analysis because I promise you're going to need it. Okay. It's one of the best tools about the JDFB football system. And that is just sending in your game film. Man, you can send in a scrimmage if it's that early in the season. It's not now, but next year it will be. You can send in your game film. We're going to tell you how to just get better, how to fit that thing better. Why can we not stop this? Okay, we're going to tell you why. Low-hanging fruit to start, but guess what? After 3, 4, 5 weeks and you've fixed all those because you're going to listen and do what Joe says or Con or whoever else is reading them these days. Now we can get a little more advanced. We can talk about some other things. But, just like install, we got to install the system to you.
I love
Join.
Takes a lot of time, but I really enjoy doing them, by the way.
I enjoy watching them. Join.joedanielfootball.com. Access for $1.